I was going to start this morning, am going to start with a quote from Ernest Holmes. Prepare your mind to receive the best that life has to offer. A good one. So the title is Imagination, and we receive the best of life in one way by utilizing this idea of the imagination. So I'm going to ask you a question to begin today, and that question is, do you consider yourself a positive person or a negative person? And once you've come up with your idea, I invite you to consider whether your closest friends and family would agree with your self-diagnosis of positivity or negativity. I had fun with that one this week. The truth to our positive or negative nature and state of thought is a driving force back of the ability, our ability, to receive that best that life has to offer. We must realize that we are infinite energy coupled with, as Holmes says, limitless creative imagination. And we always have a say in the way our life moves. We play an essential role, and it's called using our imagination. We play an important role because we stand at the why, where we get to decide whether to go down the path of positivity or the path of negativity. And what happens is our imagination and spirit itself says yes to whatever we choose. And in so doing, we create habits for ourselves. We create habits of positive thinking, taking positive action, knowing when to stop and pause and do nothing. And we create habits of, we create habits of going down the negativity path and then wondering how we ended up here and why this is always like this and why it always happens to me. And in so doing, we create more of it. So we can continue to ask why me? Or we can make a change because we are always at choice as to what we are thinking. Holmes says this: things are ideas in form. What else could they be? There is nothing from which to make things except ideas. In the beginning, we behold nothing visible. There is only an infinite possibility, a limitless imagination, a consciousness. The only action of this consciousness being idea.
So what idea is that spark in your mind? We were watching a movie on TV recently, and a young girl asked an old writer to teach her how to develop her sense of imagination. And he thought for a little bit, and he says, "Look down that road and tell me what you see." And she said, I don't see anything. He told her again then, "Well, tell me what you don't see." And she looked down the road again, and her eyes brightened up, and she told this magical story of what she did not see down the road. Our imagination fills in the blanks of what we don't see in our reality. It encourages us to examine the realm of possibility and insert ideas and new possibilities into the blank spaces in our lives. That's being creative. The highest form of intelligence isn't IQ or logic or memory or speed, according to an article I read this week. It's metacognition. Are you familiar with that? Metacognition is thinking about thinking. And as I'm remembering, oh yeah, I talked about daydreaming today. Yeah, that's basically kind of what it is thinking about your thinking. How do you think? It's a process of actively and intentionally monitoring and analyzing and regulating and reflecting on your thought habits and potential. It's about monitoring and regulating personal learning and cognitive processes to improve performance. It's about knowing how and when you best learn and maintain information, and then doing a personal analysis and observation about how effective you are at learning in given circumstances and ideas of study and personal growth. And these will empower self-awareness and self-recognition. Excuse me. I'm back. So it's basically the same as Science of Mind. Yeah, it's entered my head. It changed my thoughts about how I was speaking. In Science of Mind, we basically break it down simply to change your thinking, change your life. How do you think? And thinking about how you think to bring about those things that are occurring in your life. And determining why you keep getting the same results over and over again. Well, maybe it's how you're thinking. You keep getting the same results over and over because you keep filling the blanks with the same things over and over again. That's basically the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We know that stinking thinking keeps bringing about the same stinking results. So if you want to have a new experience, change your thinking, change your life. Hopefully you eventually reach a point where we can no longer settle for less than, when our longing for better or our recognition of our potential for greater good reaches a point of critical mass, and we have to make a choice of either accepting and settling or investing the positive necessary energy needed to devise a new mental equivalent for that which we know is ours to be. There must come a point where we know this is not just as good as it gets, and we make the choice to move beyond, to awaken ourselves to our highest potential. That then gives us positive reinforcement to follow through in similar situations in the future. And then you can look back and say, one of my favorite sayings, can't believe I used to believe that. I recognized a shifting in my thought processes, and it now brings me to new results, new outcomes, and new possibilities. I found this quote this week and I love it. I used to say, I don't ask for much, and then I realized that was the problem. Saying I don't ask for much is a result of not knowing there are more possibilities outside my current awareness. It's a result of thinking, well, this is as good as it gets, and lowering my expectations to match my lack of imagination. I think that is one of the primary components of our teaching. We often hear the phrase, find a mental equivalent. Mental equivalent is that which we do wish to experience, as opposed to that which we do not wish to experience. So if you're fixated or having a bumping your head against the wall about something that you don't want to experience, find a mental equivalent of that which you do want to experience. Put that picture in your mind and move in that direction. We have to find it because it's obviously not in our current wheelhouse, or we would be experiencing it right here and now. We need to find a new idea outside our normal modus operandi, and I believe that is one reason why our teaching is known as New Thought teaching. We are taught to create a new condition by creating a new thought. And that thought sets up the fruition of that new condition that we wish to experience. It puts it in motion. It takes imagination to discover, from the realm of possibilities already available, by the way, what aligns with our desires. As I've said over and over again, you have to have a dream, or you'll never have a dream come true. The possibilities in life are only limited by the extent of our imagination. The possibilities of every experience in our life is only limited by our limited sense of imagination. We grow by expanding our horizons, and God's will is an ever-expanding horizon into which we continuously grow. If we can see it, we can be it. And the seeing in this instance is a mental vision, a mental idea. If we can imagine it and then believe it, we can be it. That is our teaching, very simply. Hans Christian Andersen says the whole world is a series of miracles, but we're so used to them that we call them ordinary things. So every now and moment is a miraculous manifestation of thought. If you don't care for the current manifestation, create a new one. What can we imagine? What can I imagine? Daydream. Picture it, and then move in that direction. Jean-Jacques Rousseau says the world of reality has its limits. The world of imagination is boundless. You can imagine things in your mind. Think elephants flying through the room. Most of them we're going to assume are not real, and that's why they don't actually appear before us. But you can imagine all kinds of possibilities that do fit into your desires and what you really want to be. So how extensively can you imagine? How extensively can you move to new horizons? Robert McCammon says, we all start knowing magic. We are born with whirlwinds, forest fires, and comets inside us. We are born able to sing to birds and read the clouds and see our destiny in grains of sand. But then we get the magic educated right out of our souls. We get it churched out, spanked out, washed out, and combed out. We get put on the straight and narrow path and told to be responsible, told to act our age, told to grow up for God's sake. And you know why we were told that? Because the people doing the telling were afraid of our wildness and youth, and because the magic we knew made them ashamed and sad that what they'd allowed to wither in themselves. What imaginations can you have? What imaginations have you given up over life? What possibilities have you resolved are just not realistic? And it was because somebody else told you so? There is an infinite realm of possibility. And I believe that children who were taught that children are to be seen and not heard have learned through their lives that their imaginations are of no value. And I believe that's a serious disservice to everyone.
Well, you didn't lose your imagination, that's for sure. So there was a 2023 research study that found the part of the brain most associated with creativity is the prefrontal cortex, which interestingly is also the part of the brain that regulates our emotions and self-reflection. So we can use our imagination like a zoom lens. Oh, God, will you hold this for a minute? Because this is what I did with my zoom lens. It says, turn the dial of your mind to open up the greater picture. So you start with that little lens and you open it up to the greater picture. Go ahead and try that for yourself. Zoom in on one thing and then open it up to the greater picture. And that's what we're talking about with our imagination. We may zoom into one place, but we can expand that idea. In spiritual economics, for those of you that took the course, you'll remember this story maybe. There's a study, an experiment really, that was done at the University of Chicago with basketball players. And they were testing to determine how well imagining produced increased proficiency in the basketball players. So they had 3 groups. The first group went through the testing with everyone else, and then they were free to go on their way for a week and come back for the next testing, just to have a regular old life. The second group was kept the entire time, and every day they practiced, and they had a coach telling them what to do to make themselves better. And then there was a third group, and the third group was the group that was sent into meditation and told to visualize themselves playing basketball, making accurate passes and accurate shots and baskets. And of course, as we would expect, the group that had no practice, no visualization, just life as usual, came back and did the same thing they've always done. We get to look at not just this study, but is that me sometimes? The group that practiced had excellent increased proficiency in their abilities. And the group that visualized it and could see themselves and their teammates performing at an increased proficiency showed staggering increases. They weren't quite as high as those who had actually done it, but they were pretty close. Now that to me is pretty telling. So what happens when we close our eyes? When we close our eyes, it's an intentional cognitive tool that we are using. We use it to boost our imagination, our creativity, and our problem-solving methods. When we close our eyes, it blocks the external visual noise. So the brain directs all of our personal energy internally. A lot more energy there. We use meditation to reduce mental distractions. We also, in Science of Mind, we learned in our schooling, have this process called closed eye process. Now, I don't know if you've ever used it personally, like taught it or anything.
When I daydream.
When you daydream, you are activating it for yourself. Yes, you are. But I really grabbed a hold of this. You've experienced it if you've been here a while, because I really love closed eye processes. They are an optimal opportunity to engage our intuition. So in closed eye processes, we engage scenarios with our imagination to both stimulate and achieve an outcome we desire. We switch from analytical thinking, left brain, to creative insight gathering, right brain. And some of the ideas that we do, activities that we do when we first engage closed eye processes help us to do that and also activate and stimulate the left brain union, because therein we get our best life. Remember, prepare your life for the best of life. So we visualize ourselves inside a scene, and instead of our habitual thinking, we engage a new approach which is both thoughtful, filled with thought, and dynamic. We have to bring something new to the table sometimes when we want something new to occur. Holmes wrote, "Since we are dealing with that which is limitless, knowing no big and no little, the possibility of our demonstration rests not in the principle, but our acknowledgement of and embodiment in it of the ideas we desire to experience. The saying of peace will not produce peace unless back of our word is a realization of the meaning of peace." So let's engage in a thoughtful, unique, dynamic, closed eye process. Begin by thinking of something in your life that you're working with. You're not going to have to say it out loud. It might be something that you're questioning or something you want to resolve, an answer to a situation, or maybe just a change in a situation. Whatever it is, bring it to mind. And then close your eyes. Focus your attention all on your eyes. Roll your eyes around, side, bottom, side, top. Let them roll around and then roll them back around the other way. Now focus on your breathing. Quiet your breathing. Feel your breathing all the way into your tummy area, but keep your attention focused on the breathing in through the nostrils and releasing out through the nostrils. And then focus on your tongue, especially at the base of your tongue where it is attached. Relax it. Focus on the area between your eyebrows. Soften this space. Make it malleable. And imagine a bright white light filling the space within your head and flowing like a sunbeam through the area between your eyebrows, your third eye, and flowing outward like a tunnel. Pause at the area between your eyebrows and feel the light energy. Allow yourself to feel immersed in light. As you look outward through the tunnel of light you have created, begin to imagine your situation lies further down the tunnel. Also, know that within the entirety of your tunnel and beyond lies the infinite possibility and creativity of the universal energy of life. Begin moving slowly, floating through your tunnel of light. As you move slowly, activate a feeling of joyous expectancy within your mind. Feel this joyous expectancy so completely feel the excitement. And while experiencing joyous expectancy of good, feel yourself in a scene where your situation is already solved. Use all of your senses as you create a detailed mental map of the scene. Continue in joyous expectancy of good while mental mapping. And now relax and let the present scenario be deepened into your subconscious. Gently let go, pause the scene, and open your eyes. Take a breath, audible. In the space of your imagination and joyous expectancy lie all your answers. The seeds are now well planted. You have prepared your mind to receive the very best life has to offer. The only question left is, will you keep engaging your imagination, focused on joyous expectancy of good and your inborn creativity, or not? The choice is yours, and so it is.